Cool FM Live, Mary Moran at the Benson City Council meeting. A full house opposing the proposed massive 175,000 square foot aluminum processing plant on 200 acres at the southern gateway to Benson. Let's listen to public comment.
Because you don't live within city limits doesn't mean you're not affected by the city's actions and what goes on in the surrounding communities. Everyone is for jobs in our community. Nobody's against them. But most people commute and others do what they can locally. Just because there's 90 jobs that are going to be created, that doesn't mean that the locals are going to be qualified to hold those jobs. So therefore, people are going to be brought in from the outside area, or they're going to be contracted out by the company. The biggest issue here is the water with ADI trying to come in. The city of Benson in 2024 used 559 acre feet of water. For those of you who don't know, that's 325,851 gallons. That's enough water to cover 1 acre of ground, 43,560 cubic feet, 1 foot deep. According to an ADI employee, the cooling towers hold 80,000 gallons, 2% evaporation rate. Cooling tower is the least effective way to cool anything. That math comes out to 2,580 acre feet of water a year. That is 4.6 times what the city of Benson used in 2024. It's also been reported by ADI that they claim to use 300 gallons a minute, with 150 of that going back to the wastewater treatment plant in Benson. That's a continuous use of 150 gallons a minute. At that number, you're still talking about a usage of 242 acre feet of water. That's roughly 43% of what the city uses on an annual basis. That leads me to a series of questions that I believe everybody in this room deserves answers to. How much water does ADI actually intend to use? Where will the refused water go, and will it be free of contaminants? Who wrote the community development news piece in your packet on page 149, dated July 14, 2025, and it's also posted on the city's website? Usually pieces have an author or an originator. That one does not. What would cause the city to say no and stop the ADI project? How much money has been invested by the city to assist this ADI project? How much money is the city planning to spend to support the ADI project in an ongoing basis? Are there any waivers or incentives offered or provided for the ADI project? Exactly what permissions have been granted by the city to whom and when pertaining to ADI? And how much did the city pay for contract services to recommend this project? Who proposed and supported the ADI venture? Where did the ADI idea come from? Is our fire department properly equipped and staffed to respond to an emergency at a facility such as this? And the conditional use permit to ADI was recommended on 3 conditions: traffic study, emergency response plan, and water conservation. Has the city received an update on any of these conditions? I want to let the record show that I'll pass out these questions to the council members, and the members of this community deserve some answers. Ultimately, the decision affects us all: politicians, members of the city, and members of the community alike.
Next speaker we have Ms. Joanne Cousins.
Hello. I spoke to you at the last council meeting. I think I was perhaps the first person to speak to you about this aluminum dynamics project. I had learned about it 6 weeks ago just from something someone posted online I was like, this is happening? I hadn't heard anything about it. I started researching very quickly, found the 193-page application for the Title V from ADQ. Couldn't understand it. So I started researching for people who could help me understand it. And I came across two people, and one of them was Stephen Brittle, who's been fighting environmental issues in Arizona since 1990. He understands these things. And he reviewed that and said, wow, this is not a good idea for Benson. I'll write the city councilors an email. So when I spoke to you 5 weeks ago, I was encouraging you to read that email, his analysis. So he has been doing this work for 35 years, and this is a quote from one of his emails. He said, this would be one of the most polluting facilities in terms of toxics and risks that we have ever seen. So that's after doing 35 years of environmental work here in Arizona. And I'm pleased to say that I confirmed with him today, they have, he and his people really know what they're doing. They're thinks this is a really bad idea, and they've never lost a lawsuit in their 35 years because they get their details really accurate. And so since I spoke to you 5 weeks ago, at that point, I thought actually this project had to go through the city council. Then I learned that it didn't. And then I learned that it happened in the P&Z. And then I went and I looked at the minutes of the P&Z, and I saw that there was no questions, there were no discussions. Then I went to the minutes of the so-called community, awareness meeting. I have some friends that attended that. And in that meeting, there were only 20 people, and probably at least 5 of them were staff, so clearly the word didn't get out. And that's why now, if you turn around and look, we've all become aware of this in the last 5 weeks. And obviously people, by and large, are not happy about it. So I'm in that community meeting, the president of Aluminum Dynamics was asked, what's going to come out of your stacks? And he lied. Now we know that he knew at that time that they were required to file this ADEQ Title V permit, and that they couldn't even start to build their plant until they got that permit. And the only people required to file for that are companies that are going to be putting toxic stuff into the air. So what was his answer to what's going to come out of your stack from a community member? He said it was warm and clean. Warm and clean. He lied. He knowingly lied. So my request, and I think a lot of people in here would agree with me, is that we have another community meeting. And at that community meeting, we're not lied to, and we want to see, everybody's been doing a lot of research, so a lot of people are a lot more informed than what we were 5 weeks ago. And one of the things that's really important is to really get the truth and have a chance to have another vote. Okay? I mean, that community meeting, they had to have it. It doesn't qualify. 20 people came to that meeting. That tells you it wasn't adequate notification, and then the president of the company lied. So, the other request I would ask is those 3 reports that the company had to submit to the city for their conditional approval. I was told 2 weeks ago by a city employee that you all had just received it, those 3 reports. I know multiple people that have asked for those reports, and as of today, I hadn't heard of anyone who received them. So as people that live and are going to be dramatically affected by this plant, we need to see those reports.
Thank you, Ms. Benson. Jessica Flowers.
Good evening. I would like to refer you to ARS Title 13, Section 1804, under Open Meetings, Exceptions, Notice, Agenda, and Policy Statement. Arizona's open meeting law mandates that the public bodies hold meetings that are open to the public, meaning the public has the right to attend, observe, and listen to the deliberations and proceedings of these bodies. A meeting, defined as any gathering or of a quorum of a public body where they discuss, propose, or take legal action. Violations of this law include discussing or taking action on items not listed on the agenda and taking legal action in closed session. Several online sources have stated this conditional use permit, for Aluminum Dynamics was voted on quietly in November, and there is no visible agenda available on the city website after the November 6th Planning and Zoning meeting that can validate a public meeting was held by City Council. Therefore, any permits or conditional use permits issued in closed meetings shall be considered null and void. Please also refer to ARS Title 9, Section 462.04, Public Hearing Required. Aluminum Dynamics issued a public notice in the City of Sierra Vista newspaper, which is more than 30 miles away from Benson and can only be accessed with a paid subscription. The law states if there is no municipality, it should be posted on the affected property in such a manner to be legible from the public right-of-way and in at least 10 public places in the municipality. As of Thursday, July 10th, no signs were visible anywhere on that property. Therefore, ADI is in violation of ARS 9-462.04, and any public notices issued outside the municipality of Benson, Arizona for ADI should be considered null and void. Aluminum Dynamics is currently breaking ground at the site with any conditional use permits posted on their grounds. If the city of Benson believes Aluminum Dynamics is so beneficial for our community, then why won't they talk about ADI on their social media page? Where they share all of their other great news. The people of Benson are not ignorant, nor are we beneath any one of you who are sitting in these positions of power. Your authority does not give you permission to break the law. It's time to assume responsibility for your actions and remember that Benson is clean, Benson is beautiful, and we the people intend to keep it that way. Thank you.
Next speaker is Ms. Kathleen Kenny Haynes.
Good evening, Kathleen Kinney Haynes, South Stalactite Circle, Benson. Mr. Chairman or Vice Chairman? Okay. Council members. The proposed San Pedro site, thank you. The proposed San Pedro site for the Aluminum Dynamics plant is designated business park or industrial use by the Benson General Development Plan. Therefore, changing the current light industrial use to heavy industrial use is consistent with the zoning land use chart of the plan. However, to address some plan inconsistencies, it would be necessary to develop a gateway entry site along Highway 80 at the intersection of 4th Street, maintain view sheds of the surrounding environment along Highway 80, prevent contamination of groundwater, maintain the integrity of night sky viewing and the high-level air quality, minimize non-compatible land use activities near the San Pedro corridor, make preservation of all natural assets a consideration in the analysis of development approval, expand employment opportunity north of Interstate 10, and emphasize industrial growth in the airport vicinity. The appellate court decision in Haynes v. City of Phoenix requires any rezoning to be in basic harmony with the whole land use plan. Even if the above actions are taken, There are several other areas of the plan that need to be acted upon before basic harmony with the plan can be established. A zoning change of this kind at this time would result in a change to the plan of such significance as to impact the substantial portion of the city and its planning area. Consequently, a major plan amendment is necessary before zoning can be established. On the other hand, if this project is found feasible, the airport industrial park site, which fulfills the core needs of the project, such as trucking and track availability and industrial use zoning, would not have these inconsistencies and disharmony with the plan that the San Pedro site has. There are many other issues may arise from the proposed project, but by moving the project to the airport industrial park area, these inconsistencies with the plan could fly away, and the result could be a win-win for the community and the applicant. But if you don't put this heavy industrial usage development into the area that has been designed and planned for such use, you will have forever defined the character of the city of Benson's historic downtown as nothing more than the gateway to an industrial recycling plant. Thank you.
Next we have Mr. Dan Frank.
So as was said earlier, very eloquently by a fellow veteran of mine back there in the crowd, I want to reiterate what he said about the city of Benson government works for the people. You serve the people, each and every one of you. We do not serve you. And as you saw last week, I'm sure all of you, if not, I'm sure you all saw the video last week in the inappropriate behavior on behalf of the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission. He fired the first salvo when he told a lady in the audience, good luck with that, when she said, I'll just contact the district attorney's office. He set the stage. Sorry, what? Attorney General, I'm sorry, Attorney General. He set the stage for the us versus them attitude. This is why we're angry, folks. This is why we are PO'd. I'm trying to be polite here. It's that kind of behavior. We're angry also because of the covert nature, as has already been said, I'm not saying anything new here, of how ADI was brought into this city. It was brought in under the radar, just like when the Indianapolis Colts left Baltimore. They did it under the cover of night, and that city was mad. And that's why we're mad. You're bringing poison into our city, our area, beyond the city limits. You're taking our water, and we don't get a say in it. That's why we're angry. And that is not what your job is. Your job is to reflect what the people want. Each and every one of you sitting around this room tonight. I also want to remind you that the Arizona Department of Commerce in their handbook on page 42 says very clearly that planning and zoning commissions are, quote, advisory only. They do not set policy. They do not approve permits. They advise only. It goes on to say, and for the sake of time, I didn't print it all out or type it all out, but it does say that only the elected body makes the permit approval. It was already mentioned about the general development plan, but I'm going to reiterate that too. If we go through with this ADI plan, we're violating the general development plan for Benson in regards to visual appeal, land use, and environmental planning. And again, I would take more than 3 minutes just to talk about where you're all going to violate that. So my question is, why do we waste paper and come up with a general development plan if the city government wants to bring in an entity, an industry, that is going to be contrary to that general development plan? And Mr. Volker had mentioned earlier 2 things about tourism. He mentioned about classic cars off Main Street. Do we really think we're going to attract tourists for classic cars when we have a monstrosity down at the big curve spewing out aluminum? He also mentioned about the golf course. Well, per ADI's permit request they submitted to ADEQ, and I just read it again this morning, at least that page, and it says that gray water will be funneled off into the golf course. What's going to be in that gray water? We don't know yet, because again, we've been kept in the dark. We have no idea what's going to be brought into our city. So are tourists really going to want to come out there risking having children with 2 heads or no arms? We don't know what's going to be in that water. I know I'm exaggerating a little bit to make my point, but that's why we're mad. We're not getting information from you, and we're being lied to by ADI. And we're being trolled on social media trying to muddy the waters there. Last thing I want to bring up is announcements and meetings. It's 21st century. Why can't we put these announcements on social media? I still use a flip phone, but I know how to use Facebook. I know how to use nextdoor.com. Cochise County makes announcements on nextdoor.com and Facebook. Why can't we? We're limited. You seem like we're only limited to just announcing in the newspaper in Sierra Vista and posting outside City Hall. Well, I didn't get a welcome aboard packet when I moved here that said, in order to find out what's going on in the city of Benson, you must go down to City Hall every day and check what the latest is. Guess what? We all work. We don't have time for that. And I'm sorry, but it is modern times. Let's use social media, get the word out. Or could that be why we don't want the word getting out? Because we want to do these little things like we're doing with ADI right now. Thank you.
Next we have Mitchell Hamilton. Hamilton.
Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to speak with you tonight. Sorry, I was just thanking them. What I'd like to remind you of is that we all have a responsibility as human beings to manage and care for Earth, its resources, and all living creatures. I never in my wildest dreams thought me, a conservative Republican, would ever say those words or have to remind anybody, because I'm not some crazy environmentalist or how I would view them. However, I'm a conservative and I believe in conservation. And that's where many of us have agreements. Who disagree politically, we absolutely agree on this. And that's what's beautiful here at this time, is many people that I would actually call friends, but we disagree in certain realms. But when it comes to the lives and safety of our loved ones and our community and caretaking and being good stewards of that, this is where we align 100%. And I appreciate that. And I'm not even from this place, but God led us here 2 years ago. We moved here from the Basin of Los Angeles. If everybody could just close your eyes and visualize the Basin of Los Angeles, you will visualize refineries all over the place. SA Aluminum, who got sued, is in Wilmington, California, which was 2 miles from my home. Now, the side effects of health problems from these refineries that throughout my life, I taught in LA Unified School District, mile away from these refineries and recycling plants, and my students would have major migraines by 11 o'clock in the morning, and we wonder why. Now, this didn't happen overnight to Los Angeles. This took decades to simmer in the grounds and in the air of that beautiful, or what used to be beautiful place, only miles from the Pacific Ocean, the Port of LA, the Port of Long Beach, Cabrillo Beach, the Korean Bell, Fort MacArthur. These historically are beautiful and historical landmarks, and it's been completely desecrated by irresponsible people, not of today, but of 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago. They didn't have the foresight to think about the future generations. You guys have the ability to do that, something they didn't do there. Hence the reason why my family is here. We were looking for a place that had pristine water. That was #1 on our list when we moved. pristine. Well, I never heard of Cochise County in my life. But God had a bigger plan for us, and it was here. And we found that pristine water in our aquifers, which are ancient and have been protected forever until now. So I ask you, do you want this beautiful place, the San Pedro Valley, to turn into the Los Angeles basin? You really don't. Because if I stood here and listed all of the health problems that close friends and family of mine have, you would be absolutely mortified. And that is not what we want for here. This is why my husband and I and our 2 children are here to build a legacy in this community and fight against all of the evil that was done there so it doesn't happen here. And what I'm encouraged by is by all the people behind me. We left a community that was asleep, unfortunately, but we came to a community who is absolutely awake. They're willing to put the legwork into the looking at everything, researching everything, asking questions and pushing against things that they know are not just wrong, they're morally wrong. So I ask you guys, please reconsider. We're going to challenge it all the way because this is a hill I will die on because my grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren deserve it. So we are not moving again. This is home, and we absolutely love it, and we're encouraged by everybody in this town because they are absolutely beautiful people. Thank you so much. Have a fabulous evening.
Ms. Audrey Chapman.
Before I share what I would like to say, I have a friend who was unable to make it tonight, and I'd like to read something that she wrote. She said, "My name is Audra Bittigan, and I am here to voice my concerns for the aluminum plant project. I would like to start out by reading from the City of Benson General Development Plan, specifically Land and Use Policies, Line 6, which reads as follows: maintain the view sheds and dynamic visual appeal of the city's surrounding environment. This can be achieved by designating certain stretches of roadway to be free of large commercial signs and billboards. It's interesting to me that the city is concerned about billboards and commercial signs disrupting the visual appeal of the city. However, the city is now willing to place a massive aluminum plant with cooling towers reaching 100 feet in the air that will release toxins into the community. That seems like quite the contradiction to me. Not only will the aluminum plant produce toxins that are released into our community, but the plant is placed close to a residential area, right next to the San Pedro River, and even more alarming, a short distance from our schools. How is this not a concern for the deciding officials? Please do not sell out this town. You are allowing this greedy company to hold this town hostage. This is a bad idea, and please rethink your actions before it's too late. Surely there are other job opportunities that can be brought to Benson besides a smelter. Do the right thing." I would like to add that I'm one of the few who was born in Benson. I've lived in Benson most of my life. I grew up in the house that my great-grandfather built. I have 5 kids who all attend school at Benson, in the primary school, middle school, and high school. I teach it and coach at the high school. I have strong ties to this town, and I love this town, and I just want it to continue to be a wonderful, beautiful, safe, healthy place to raise kids, especially my kids. Thank you.
Next we have Ms. Kristen Bidgen.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to speak this evening. Having grown up in a Phoenix suburb and now having lived in Benson for 10 years, I feel as if I have an even deeper understanding of just how special Benson truly is. This is an absolute beautiful area to reside in, and it should be treasured. I am not opposed to growth, but I do feel strongly that the growth should be responsible and appropriate. It should not be a heavy industrial harmful business on top of our river, on top of our schools, and on top of our homes. It should not be an industrial business with a horrendous rap sheet of air and water violations. You were told warm air, but clean air. Did anyone stop and do their homework here? Or do we skip that step if the price is right? I know you're unable to provide an oral response for any of us now, but look at all these people here. Look at the signs. We want answers. I have a simple list here of 10 questions that I would like for the council to answer. I'm providing you with a written copy of these inquiries, and I will be expecting a response from the city in writing starting tomorrow. I will be sure to email your city clerk a copy as well. Number 1, whose idea was this plant? Who proposed it or introduced it, and who are the primary supporters of it? Number 2, what incentives have been offered or provided to the city of Benson? Number 3, what permissions have been granted by the city council, the mayor, and you specifically, and when were these actions taken? Number 4, to date, how much has the city of Benson invested in supporting this initiative and project? Number 5, what are the projected startup and ongoing support costs for this business? 6, to date, how much has the city paid for the contract services of Christine McLaughlin? How much was spent to use her as a contract planner on this project? 7, what would cause the city council to say no and stop this project? 8, what amount of water will be used daily? Gallons per day? Number 9, where would the wastewater go and how will that process work? And our final question, number 10, who authored this community development news piece in your council packet? The one that says when approved, not if approved. Let the record show that I'm providing you a hard copy of these 10 questions. Thank you for your time this evening, and thank you for your timely response.
Next speaker is Dominic.
Good evening. I'm going to read off my phone here. I'm 28 years old, and I would say I'm probably the youngest person to speak today. I'm a U.S. Army veteran who recently moved to Benson. I was born and raised in Tucson and met my wife here. We have 4 children, and we recently just purchased a home here. In Benson, less than a mile away from the proposed site. I'm very concerned with the lack of communication and transparency from the city in regards to ADI. In a quarter of a century, the parent company has committed nearly 100 offenses, totaling in over $11 million in fines. The plant that's proposed would be classified as a major source of hazardous air pollutants. They're requesting a Class 1 permit, Title 5 ADEC permit. Pollutants emitted from this process include nearly at 100 tons annually of 10 different types of particulate matter. The plant would run 24/7, 365 right here within city limits, next to homes, schools, etc. So far, it's unclear in the amount of municipal water that we use daily. Some of it apparently will be recycled back into the golf course. 74 trucks daily processing 300,000 tons of aluminum. The 88-foot tall main structure with taller structures around it. It's proposed to be built right on the San Pedro River, which was one of the last undammed free-flowing rivers in the West. It flows into the Gila and the rest of Arizona, and as an avid hunter, it feeds my family. The company is currently in a $50 million litigation with the last town they tried to set up in. Is this really what we want to bring to our small town of around 5,000 people? There's already a petition going around with over 1,500 people that have signed, and that's a lot more than the citizens review that was held only asking 7 people. This needs to be recalled, reevaluated, and revoted on. In another quarter century, this will be a problem that my children and I will have to deal with, and most of the people here won't be here anymore. You guys need to think about the future of Benson. That's all I have to say.
Shiny? With the Huachuca Astronomy Club?
Good evening. Can everybody hear me clearly? Good, good. As you can see, I'm the only Asian face in this room, and I struggled so hard at my English speech 101 class. The fear that speak in public kills me, but the fear that the Benson and its citizens that lose this beautiful environment overweights my fear. So I'm here today and facing all of you, and I'm here to read something my husband wrote. He's concerned, in addition to all the environmental issues, he also concerned about light pollution, because both of us are on the Huachuca Astronomy Club, and we moved here from Chicago area. And we lived there, he lived there for 30 years, I'm 22 years. Originally, I came from China, the communist China, and my homeland, as you know, as the second economic power in the world, its land, soil, water is so heavily contaminated. There's people die young from cancer, etc. And it's a major concern, and the government don't talk about it. And I feel it is so sad. I see the same thing happen here and in a little rural town I never find on the map. And my hometown is 8 million citizens. And I will never come to this place if not for the clear water, the dark sky, the beautiful galaxy, the Milky Way across our head every night. You guys are so blessed by the nature wealth that are given by your God. So I'm not reading the draft my husband wrote. I just speak out of my mind. And in 1998, actually on September 11th, I boarded the flight, came to the US. If this town is destroyed, I can move. I can go somewhere else. But I feel sad for all of you, your Americans that were born and raised in this blessed land, but you ruined it. I think it's everybody's responsibility.
I'm a naturalized citizen, and I'm so happy that I'm here, and I'm a new face. I don't have any friends here because I'm new into this town, but I really call to your conscience that preserve the way of life that you are given by God. Thank you.
Next we have Ms. Kimberly Skolkin.
I also have a fear of public speaking, but this was too important to let go. Hello, my name is Kimberly Skolkin. I live on the other side of the San Pedro River across from the proposed plant, less than a mile as the crow flies. My property actually includes a portion of the land behind the plant, as well as a piece of the river in between. If ADI starts operations there, not only with aluminum dust raining down on my property, but my portion of the river, my animals, and my children, when it rains, the toxic runoff will run from behind my plant and from my property directly into the river and head north. You see, both my home and the site chosen by Aluminum Dynamics are flood zones, registered flood zones. In addition, what doesn't run off in the gentler winter rains will sink into the ground. Due to the convenient location of my property being right off the river, my well that we drink from and bathe in is only 100 feet deep. How long before I and my children experience the effects of toxins on them, from the emissions, in them, from inhaling them, and in their drinking water? We raise and butcher our own animals on our little homestead. How soon before the beef I raise for my family tests at toxic levels for aluminum and carcinogens? How long before our home-raised dairy products do as well? We already have a cancer cluster in St. David due to Apache powder. They had to dig everyone new wells a number of years back, and I still lost 5 friends afterwards. In addition, I just finished fighting with the Department of Justice and 7 tribes and several ecological agencies for water rights adjudication, which I have been told will be revisited in the future for my domestic well. Not only has the city of Benson not completed that process, why would they guarantee water that may not last, and they have not established their own rights to? In addition, residents in the J6 area have recently received notice that they are being dropped from their homeowners insurance due to the high fire risk in this drought-stricken Southwest desert. Aluminum dust is flammable. So flammable, in fact, that if ADI is granted their ADEQ Title V permit, they have to create a fire disaster plan that's given to our local fire departments. Our local fire departments are volunteers. Why would we risk a plant to be built in a high-risk area low on water with voluntary firefighters? What's Aluminum Dynamics going to say if some of our local men are hurt or killed in a fire, which they have a history of having? I'm sorry? Finally, I keep hearing about the jobs that this will bring. In construction, perhaps, but not one large construction project, even for the city of Benson, has hired local contractors. Not one. And we have many hardworking local companies here. We do not have an abundance of workers with 2-year degrees in the skills for the plant. It will be a long time coming before this company can make a dent in our local unemployment. Never mind that we do have a population here that just won't work. There are actually jobs. They may not be great, but they're better than nothing. But even if this dream of jobs did pan out, who in their right mind with children or grandchildren growing in this community wants to sell off their health for more job availability? Who in their right mind would trade the water that their community needs to survive for more jobs? And who had the bright idea to put such a plant alongside an endangered river in a flood zone, on a riparian area, across from a nursing home, and a mile from a school?
Next we have Scotty Drum.
Thank you, council, and the mayor, and everyone in Benson. Thank you. I'm gonna try to make this short. I'm another one who doesn't like doing public speaking, but here we go. My name is Scott Drum. My family has served America, Ireland, and Scotland in both war and peacetime to defend, protect, stop tyranny, injustice, and corruption since 1746, ending with myself serving our great nation in 1988.
I took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and to protect all our rights and our freedoms under that great and timeless document. This plant is the enemy. I'm not against change or economic growth. I'm for small businesses and the opportunity for all to succeed and grow environmentally and intelligently in a sound manner. What I'm against is proven toxic industry, destroying the water, soil, air, and protected areas like the river and the aquifers here. I witnessed the destruction of waterways and the environment in Colorado mining areas, New Mexico, Arizona, and Wyoming over the past 36 years. And now Benson is on that destruction list, stemming from greed, political and legal discrepancies, and a $1 billion toxic facility blowing smoke up our skirts. Brief examples. 2015 Gold King Mine, Colorado, 3 million gallons of toxic water with lead, arsenic, and cyanide and thallium poured into the Animas River. Toxic waste into Colorado, New Mexico, Utah waters, and the Navajo Nation's water. 1940 to 1970, GE poured PCBs, a chemical used to cool transformers, industrial electrical supplies. 1.3 million pounds of toxic chemicals that contaminated 200 miles of the lower Hudson River in New York State. 1920s to the 1980s, upstate New York, acid rain from the smelting of metal, recycling metals from the smokestacks of these places putting out nitrogen oxide, sulfur dioxide, creating acids in the air, killing all the flora and the fauna around the state and the source of the Hudson River. The list could go on and on. I took from the Center of Biological Diversity Tucson letter to the city, to the mayor and the council and planning commission. These are just a few concerns. Approximately 52 tons of toxic aluminum dust will cover Benson over the next 10-year period, contaminating air, water, soil, destroy federally protected wildlife habitats along the river, violating federal protection laws. Aluminum dust mixed with the air is highly explosive and flammable. It is a level 4 danger under OSHA regulations. And I hope this number is wrong, but I don't think so. From this letter, I'm assuming it meant 2,627,400,000 gallons of water will be pulled per year from the Benson well and water supplies. And it's 2 miles from your school. Let this sink in to you all. On September 27, 1779, a naval battle at Flamborough Head, on the sinking, burning, undergunned American warship, the British demanded Captain John Paul Jones to surrender. His response among the flames, explosion, and his ship and his crew fighting valiantly responded, I have not yet begun to fight. To the council, mayor, planning commission, the toxic invaders to our county, our town, our state, we have not yet begun to fight. Thank you.
Good evening, council people. My name is Daniel Arnold. I'm a native of Cochise County, resident of Benson. We are the neighbor to Aluminum Dynamics. We own the old golf course. So we own the old golf course. We have shut that golf course down. It used 850,000 gallons of water a day. So we started to do our part. I represent Daniel Arnold and Associates. I'm a real estate development consultant. I work for over 30 clients in the state of Arizona, deal with over 100 agencies, cities, and towns. Our job is to analyze projects like this one. I also represent the Chiricahua Apache Indian Nation. I'm a Chiricahua Apache Indian member. I sit on tribal council. I'm director of Chiricahua Apache Economic Development. I'm president of Chiricahua Apache Development. I'm president of Chiricahua Apache Water Company. We took all the information from this project that we were able to get, which was most of it. We ran all this information past our team of engineers, scientists, environmentalists, hydrologists, economic analysts. Before making the statement today, we ran this past all of them. We've been working on this since last year. And at this time, we would like to support the Mayor and Council of Benson 100% in this project for ADI. So If you need any of that information from me, feel free to contact me, and we'll be more than happy to share it with you. Thank you.
Next is Ms. Misty Bloom.
Wow, tough act to follow. Thank you so much for having me tonight. So if you don't mind just looking at the people behind me, I want to let you know this is, I would guess that most people here are not in favor of the plant. Feel free to lift up your signs, guys. But this is actually just a fraction of the people in the community. I have talked to so many people. Initially, I created a space on Facebook for people to discuss. I saw that it was overwhelming some of the chit chat groups. And I thought, well, that's gotta be kind of annoying to admins. Let's scoot over here so we can have an open conversation and learn about what this is. So we've been educating ourselves for a few weeks now, and we are now up to 830 people. That does include, you know, some city people and people that are kind of lurking in the plant, like, you know, people that are pro-plant and stuff. But that is like almost a quarter of our population. And I am here to offer you guys a way out because I'd like to read a couple things. So I'd like to comment on the warm, clean air. So on November 6th, the AD representative was asked, what will be emitted from the stacks? Warm air, but clean air. So I will go ahead and read to you what the truth is, and that is a discrepancy with the ADAQ air dispersion modeling report of December 2024 and potential to emit calculations. The 218-acre facility would emit more than 52 tons of fine particulate matter, PM 2.5, that's very small, annually, much of it likely containing aluminum compounds along with significant quantities of nitrogen oxides, carbon monoxide, and hazardous air pollutants, including hydrogen chloride. Many of these emissions are fine enough to penetrate into the lungs and bloodstream, and depending on the dosage and frequency, could contribute to serious respiratory and neurological harm. Aluminum dust, in particular, does not degrade and can accumulate in soils, water, and living tissue. Over a decade, the facility could deposit a significant burden of aluminum-laden dust. There is a discrepancy in the information that was given to this planning and zoning. In fact, this is another question that came up. Planning and zoning actually asked the Aluminum Dynamics representative this question: could this project be brought before council? Well, that's evidence. Like, did planning and zoning not know that they had the option to send this before you guys? So I would like to just formally ask you guys to rescind and revoke the conditional use permit that you have granted. I am asking for the city council to consider the 1/4 of the population of Benson that is concerned about this. And I want to also say, we looked for a home before we moved from Tucson 7 years ago. We looked for 7 years. We are a homeschool family. We have raised 4 children. We still have 2 at home. We have children in sports. And we moved out here to teach our kids agricultural lifestyle, to have ag science, to grow organic vegetables, and to give our children a different way of life that was different than the drive-by shooting that was in Tucson when we lived in Tucson. And this was our dream. We looked for 7 years in Cochise County, and there is growth happening pretty soon. Unfortunately, whether we like it or not, Benson will be a suburb of Vail because people like me don't want our children harmed in Tucson. And I have been here 7.5 years now. And this was our dream, to grow our kids in a rural setting. This is our dream home. We come here, we see flags. It's okay to be excited about 4th of July here. That is not what Tucson has to offer. They have to offer decapitations and crime and machete attacks in Target. And you know what? This is where we chose to live, and this is our dream. And you know what? We have a couple sayings in the group now. One man's job isn't worth another man's water. And there are people who have built equity in their homes for years with blood, sweat, and tears, and they're gonna have to say goodbye to that. What happens when we can't sell our homes when the faucet doesn't turn on? And I want you to look at this portion of people. That is a small representative to the people that I talk to all the time on Facebook that are coming to me and saying, thank you for giving me a voice. Thank you for getting the information out. And here's my other question. How many other people in Benson don't know this is happening? This is right across the street from a nursing home. We need to take care of our elders. We need to take care of our children. They deserve us to be a voice. You know, I lost my father-in-law this year, and we sat by his bedside for a week, saying goodbye to him and walking him home. And you know what I see when I lose people in this life? They are not saying, I wish I made another dollar. They're saying, I wish I had more time. And I ask you to revoke and rescind the conditional use permit and take a vote on it, because right now it's not looking like you guys represent the community of Benson. And my last question to you guys, is, since this is a highly flammable plant, what is your evacuation time? If you were forced to evacuate the vicinity of Benson, how quickly could you get those people out? There's like I-10. We could either go to Douglas, or we could go to Wilcox, or we could go to Tucson. How quickly could you safely get people, if there was a fire, and that thing, there's aluminum plant fires all over the place. How quickly could you get the people to safety? Okay, we don't want another Colorado River situation. We don't want our place, our valley poisoned. Please rescind and revoke your conditional use permit. There are scared mothers, and we want to stay here. We bought our 150-acre farm, and we were never planning on leaving. This is our dream, and this is a lot of their dreams. Don't make us give up our dreams for 90 measly jobs.
Next we have Ms. Sarah Davis.
Good evening. It's been a long evening, I'm sure, for you guys, more so than some of us. So thank you for your time, and I know you guys have had a lot of facts spit at you tonight. So I hope you're still with me, because I do, and I want to make this an agenda item somehow. I want to have at the end of this our community working with our city council, representing each other, having faith in each other. And I think the only way that we can possibly pursue that together is to look at the ways to repeal the vote that happened at the Planning and Zoning meeting on November 6, 2024. There are several options for that. One, clearly I don't believe that they were qualified. That's no insult to them. This is a Title V permit company industry. It is a big deal. You know, I didn't see any requests for a light study, a noise study, a pollution study, a water study. It didn't look like any of that was asked at the time. I don't know how they could have possibly been equipped, you know, to handle that. And then the precedent that it sets for the 88-foot, Benson doesn't want 88-foot high buildings. How are you ever going to be able to tell another industry no if you told sort of this conglomerate of everything that you could stand against? If you told them yes, who could we possibly say no to? I did notice about a year before, in 2023, a Maverick sign was going before the planning and zoning in the action minutes and the approved minutes. And it seemed like, and that was just they already had the sign. It was just to increase the height of the sign 14 more feet. And even in that one, there was a motion made. I don't know if the minutes are correct or not, but it said that the planning and zoning commission would recommend the council approve it. And so to me, like, that's the direction, right? The people, we should have the power. We pick you to hold our place of power for us, and other people get hired. It would be preposterous to me that you guys didn't have more power than the PZ. This is no insult, I assure you. It's just a matter of trying to understand how we come back together, because it's really, you know, unfortunate to see. This is a great community. I think you can tell that people love it. We need a hero, you know, and it might be you guys, because we don't want this in our community for so many reasons. So I would like to understand. I did see online that the city has a board of appeals. It doesn't look like it's been used or met, or nothing's been posted since 2022. But is that something that's available to the citizens? Is that a route? Help us, you know, to make our voices heard and to work together to get what's good for all of us. And you know, maybe the citizens were asleep at the wheel too. And the intent of posting is not to cover your hiney, right? It's to garner feedback and elicit feedback from your community. That's the reason that we put the posts up. I think it's clear based on how much feedback you got back in 2024 that those posts did not reach anybody. And the PZ handbook says that the city development director can request additional sources to get the word out. I think that that's another area where you can see now that the word is out, there's so many people interested in this decision. And so I would like for you to consider adding, and I can go down and fill out the paperwork too, but what that Board of Appeals looks like, if that's an avenue for us as citizens to try to help you. I imagine you're in a terrible position, and it's probably easier to talk to Aluminum Dynamics, but you are not their mayor and council, you are ours. And we want it, and we want to support you, and I think that gets lost a little bit too, and I think that you want to support us has been lost just a little bit in this, but if we could just try to get just a little bit back to who we are at our roots, and if you help us do this, I really think that everybody, the respect can be returned. Thank you.
Next we have Ms. Christine Austin.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I moved here 28 years ago from Green Valley in Sarita, Arizona. I'm sure everybody knows where that is. I lived, as the crow flies, about 2 miles from an open pit mine, Cypress Mine. Actually, there were 3 mines in the town. There's Cypress, Sarco, and DeVol Mine. And I lived near Cypress. And I was pregnant during 1997. She was 7.5 months long. And I know you just spoke earlier about how you're for children and families. Well, I wish somebody would have said that in Green Valley and Sarita, but nobody did. So at 7.5 months, I had a stillbirth. Her heart stopped beating, went to the hospital. Doctor says she's dead. Soon after, I finally delivered her, and that was a long process. I was approached by a group of people, 75 people to be, that were in the whole group. 75 people came forth, and they had a class action lawsuit against Cypress Mine. This is 1997. So I was told by a doctor to get tested. So we encouraged the group to get tested. Not everybody did, but there was 30 of us that did. All 30 were high in lead, cadmium, and aluminum. My daughter died because the doctor said the metal leached through my placenta and killed her. Like I said, this was 1997. I moved here 28 years ago. My experience was literally hell on earth. Now, I moved here to get away from a place like Cypress Mine. They had smelters. The EPA stepped in. EPA said, you people are burning and polluting in 100 times excess of what you were allowed. What happened? Well, we didn't get to go to court. That didn't happen because money talks, and lawyers have a lot of it. So that was pretty much, we went as far as we could. But the EPA stepped in and put a machine down in the Green Valley Library to measure the air quality because it was so bad in Green Valley. They put a machine in that library so you could go in there and check the air quality on a daily basis. This was 28 years ago, and I don't believe the machine is there anymore. Because what happens is it just starts all over again. Some woman is going to lose her baby. And then what? Another stillbirth, a bunch of cancer patients, and we also had a lot of people that had Parkinson's. It's very common in that type of pollution area. So that's all I have to say. I hope you people really think about what you're doing. Thank you.
Crystal?
Hi again. Crystal Anderson, thank you for allowing me to speak as well. I have been down a lot of rabbit holes in the last 3 weeks. One of them has been chasing Bill Glasser for some information that he just won't give me. And anytime we request from the city information, it seems to be stonewalled as well. So I went out on my own and I talked to an engineer that builds cooling towers. And he knows everything about them. And he laughed when I said Bill Glasser said 5%, but they're going to reclaim 3% of that, so it's really 2% evaporate. And he laughed and said, you can't reclaim evaporated water. And let me go ahead and tell you that with the dimensions from their permit application, he said that the evaporate would probably be 8%, if not more. He's going to get back to me with the numbers, and I plan on giving a full analysis to the city. Also, with that, when I was doing numbers with 5%, it came out to over 1,200 homes a year worth of water. And if my calculations are wrong, please tell me, is that bigger than 90? Because I don't think 90 jobs are going to pay for 1,200 homes. I don't think it's going to pay for the resources that this company is going to take out of our state. It's just like Wilcox and their alfalfa fields, and they're shipping them to Saudi Arabia. So they're going to be taking all of our resources and shipping their product out of state as well. Why does Arizona have to keep supplying everything for the rest of the world? We need to supply for our town. We need to supply for Benson, not for Mississippi. And I think it's really important for you guys to consider this. Instead of being good for Mississippi, let's be good for Benson.
Yeah.
Kenny James?
Oh, Kenny again. Yes, it's me, I'm back. I think whenever you guys take on a project, you guys ought to do your homework, okay? Example, maybe go down to the international border where Canada is and just sit there with a lounge chair and watch all the pollution that comes across the border. Because you know why? They don't regulate it, not like we do. You know, and if you think it's a good idea to put this aluminum plant, go to Gila Bend where the county kicked them out, like we're going through right now. That's right. Okay, and ask them why. The reason why is because nobody wants it. And the town before that, the same thing. This is an unwanted thing. And I don't know why you guys are trying to put a square cube in a round hole. It's not gonna work. You guys really need to do your homework. Do some impact studies. See what it does to the environment. Think about the future generations that are going to live here. Think about the people that are going to die. All because of 90 people being employed. I mean, I think a third grader could have done a better job than what you guys decided. Honestly. Because at least they know right from wrong. You guys really need to pull these permits. Because if not, go up to Gila Bend and find out what happened to their town. The same thing's going to happen to Benson. We're going to rear our ugly head. You woke up a sleeping bear. And that's all I got to say.
Okay. Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Let's see, some of this may be repetitive and I apologize. But I'd like to say not bringing this important project before the council for a public hearing with discussion was very upsetting and disheartening for Benson residents. This is your role in representing them. The online petition opposing the aluminum plant has now reached 1,594 signatures. It's not too late to make this right. Aluminum Dynamics materially misrepresented the facts during the November 6, 2024 Planning and Zoning hearing. A question was asked, what will be emitted from the stacks, end quote. Aluminum Dynamic President, Mr. Pushis, responded, quote, warm air, but clean air, end quote. This could not be further from the truth. Per Aluminum Dynamics application with ADEQ for a Title V permit, they included multiple pages of chemicals that could be emitted from this secondary smelter. A few of the over 40 potential harmful chemicals being emitted throughout the different plant processes are carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, volatile organic compounds, metal hazardous pollutants, and greenhouse gases. Aluminum Dynamics has admitted that some of these chemicals will exceed thresholds in a 24-hour period. That's also on their ADEQ application. When researching Aluminum Dynamics' parent company, Steel Dynamics, 93 violations are listed by their subsidiaries and over $11.5 million in fines. The violations include water pollution, air pollution, environmental violations, and 93 safety-related offenses. Is this the type of corporation that makes a great neighbor? Absolutely not. Please do the right thing and do not allow Aluminum Dynamics to make a home in Benson while destroying this wonderful town. And the very last thing I would ask is if anyone opposed would please stand. Thank you.
Our last speaker is Mr. James Guerrero.
Good evening, council members. I had a long speech in my phone. Not going to bother with that. They've talked about everything that I want to talk about. I want to talk about the elderly folks. My mom's a hospice nurse here in the county, Mary Ann Young. Show of hands, how many people are over the age of 70 in here? Look at that. Thank you. A lot of them don't have social media. A lot of them They don't have the Herald, they don't have online access, they don't subscribe to it. So the way that you informed our town is unacceptable. It really is. I've been informing my neighbors. Ray, raise your hand. This man right here, Ray, I just met him. He's one of my neighbors. Great man. Him and his wife Bonnie had no clue about this. I found out June 24th. I just think it's unacceptable. You gotta inform us. You have our addresses, you send us property tax bills, send us a letter. I live about halfway up the hill in the Heights, off of Silverwood on Hillcrest. I have a perfect view of the San Pedro River, of the train bridge, everything. It's gonna be ruined. What do you think that's gonna do to my property tax value? Yeah. It's gonna kill my value. I don't want this. I don't want this for any of these people. And if you are gonna go forward with this, start informing the elderly so they can make plans to get out of here. A lot of people move here for clean air. Their doctors recommend them to move here. It's abhorrent what you're doing. Thank you.
Next is to adjourn. I'll second it. A motion by Councilman Tapia and Councilman Hayes to adjourn. Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
There's a freaking coward. Fire him.
Thank you for joining us. Please go to bensonaluminiumplant.org for additional